What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. Today I want to talk about depression, a little bit about anxiety, just mood in general, mental clarity, well-being, that kind of stuff. So when I was younger, I took a medication called Lexapro, and I would say that I was mostly somebody who suffered with anxiety and maybe just a little bit of depression. I know that they kind of go hand in hand. I used to not want to admit that I was depressed, and I would be like, no, I'm just anxious. Like, I don't get depressed. And there was some sort of like shame around it for me about being depressed. I think there's a stigma around being depressed that, maybe you're just lazy or you don't have a positive attitude, you need an attitude adjustment. Yeah, there's a lot of stigma around mental health in general. And I think a lot of people feel shame around the issues that they have and they don't really want to talk about it. They might feel shame around going to get help and things like that. So I think that it's incredible that we have as much information as we do now, that we have so many different treatments and things are just getting really out in the open. So many people online and through books and different mediums are sharing information about how to improve your mood naturally with medication, with just so many different things, exercise, diet. So I wanted to share with you some information that I recently learned and some information that I recently had reinforced about how to just improve and treat depression naturally and anxiety as well, and just overall improve your mood, your energy, your mental clarity, and just well-being and happiness. So I recently listened to this audiobook called A Mind of Your Own by this Dr. Kelly Brogan. And I got into listening to this because I was having a little bit of my own health stuff flaring up and I wanted to just get some different perspectives on it. And so I found her to be incredibly articulate, well-read. She just had so much experience, and her experience mainly initially when she got into treating people for depression and things like that. She was working with a lot of women who had postpartum depression, a lot of women that were pregnant, and just mostly a lot of women. So what she started to see was that there was a lot of correlation between people that were having mood disorders and having thyroid issues, having mood disorders and having food allergies, mood disorders and different medications. And she was classically trained, writing prescriptions and thinking that she was really helping these people by giving them a prescription, because it was just an imbalance. And it wasn't until she had her own health crisis and she was presented with the option of basically, you're probably going to have to be on medication for the rest of your life, that she started to dive deeper into what are the real causes of depression. I think when we're having health stuff, we can get really scared and we want to have some sort of quick fix. And we think, okay, like it's just an imbalance. If I take this medication, it'll help fix that imbalance. But what she goes into in her book called A Mind of Your Own, she talks a lot about how the studies that they do around depression medication, a lot of the information is skewed to make it seem like the medication is actually more effective than it really is. We see all these commercials on TV for a lot of different medications for depression. And I think, they make it seem like there's so much hope in that direction. And for some people, that might actually be beneficial and it might provide some hope and some improvement. But when you actually look at the data of the studies on these medications, you see that they're very short term. They're done for about 6 weeks. And then these people are given the prescriptions for sometimes years and years and years. It's worth diving into these medications, and it's worth diving into the real cause of these issues and trying to figure out what it is. In this book, she just talks about so many different studies and how the medications that people are taking, there's often like way more negative side effects than you're ever expecting, which can be even worse than depression. It's really interesting. She talks about how if you do a a study on a particular medication, and then you do a sort of reverse on it where you do the nocebo. So you do a test with people, and people that get the placebo and that get the medication, they actually, for a lot of depression medications, are very similar with their outcomes. So the depression medications are outperforming the placebo, sometimes not at all, and sometimes only by a small amount, and that's because they have side effects that can show up. And because when people start to notice these side effects, they think, oh, I must have gotten the medication, not the placebo. And so the placebo effect starts to work on them anyway, because they think they have this medication and it's going to work for them. But then when they do the reverse, where they do a nocebo, and they have people who have been on medication do a study where they tell some people they're going to stay on the medication and some people are going to be taken off of the medication, most of the subjects in the study start to become depressed even if they're still taking their medication. And a lot of that, they believe, is from the placebo effect, because when we think that we have this higher power of something helping us, our mind can make us feel better because our mind is so powerful. So she talks a lot about that in the book, and not just talking about trying to trick your mind into you feeling better, but she talks about actual real practical advice. Now, for some of you who are completely plant-based, I know not everybody who is following my channel is plant-based. She does not recommend an exclusively plant-based diet in this book, so that's something that you might need to modify. But just in general, she has really great advice. She talks about these really incredible studies that show that a lot of depression and mood disorders and anxiety has to do with inflammation in the body. There's definitely something to it with having this inflammation affecting our mood, our mental clarity, our ability to think. And there's studies that show that when people take curcumin, they can actually have the same or better effects than taking a depression medication if they take curcumin for depression, because it can be so powerful in reducing inflammation. What we can do is really just start to look at what are some things that I can do to reduce inflammation in my body. Curcumin is one amazing thing that you can take, which is just a concentration of the compounds that are in turmeric that are super anti-inflammatory. I know that I took curcumin when I was having my wisdom teeth coming in. I take it when I have a headache, and it really, really does work. I really love it. Another thing that you can take, or another thing that you can eat, is just an anti-inflammatory diet. You can start to incorporate more fruits and vegetables, and you're gonna start to just have more energy, feel better, and you're gonna see your mood improve with all of that, making those changes. Removing things that you're allergic to, whether it's grains, whether it's dairy, whether it's wheat, corn, soy, there's so many different things that can cause us to have symptoms of depression, or for our body to just react in an inflamed way if we're dealing with chronic food allergies. You can also incorporate foods that are super anti-inflammatory as well, like something like broccoli sprouts, which has something called sulforaphane in it, which is incredible for reducing inflammation in the body. Also, CBD oil is really great for recovery after a workout, reducing inflammation from that, and just increasing your recovery in general. Improving your sleep, CBD oil can be really incredible for that too. Hitting all of the aspects of health instead of focusing on this model that we've been looking at, which is we have a chemical imbalance. And she also talks about how there haven't really actually been any human studies that link a serotonin imbalance to depression, that there's not actually human studies that show that. So this is a very old model of thinking. There's so much more to do with gut health than, just an imbalance that somebody has genetically. It's really an incredible book, and I've learned so much from it. The better that I eat, the more I keep up with doing yoga, meditating, keeping my diet super clean, not eating things I'm allergic to, sleeping enough, surrounding myself with people that are just a positive influence on me. These things have had way more of an influence on me and my mood than any medications that I took in the past. The point of this video is not for me to be like, hey, I've got all the answers, or this person has all the answers. I just want to be able to share information if you guys are looking for another option. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the book that I was talking about. I will also link to curcumin if you guys are unfamiliar with that. You can check that out in the link. And then also the CBD oil if you are interested in that for improving your sleep or mood or anxiety, things like that. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful. Make sure to share it with anybody who you think it would be helpful for, and comment down below and let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye.